Zoe, are you seeing anything?
I think in your desktop, I think.
Is there a bunch of folders on it?
I don't see any folders on it.
Okay, maybe it's the wrong monitor. Hold on. Let's try. Do you see it now?
Super. You're on.
Okay.
And you're
okay.
Perfect.
Now the Aqua FM certification is up, so. Just for FYI, Chief, we try to start right on time, just to the others catch up, as opposed to let the people at the time off wait. So
okay.
Right. Good morning, everyone. We're about 2 minutes from start time. We'll be starting right on time at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Good morning, everyone. Roger Beck here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our morning version of our resources training panel. This morning we're especially pleased to have Chief Master Sergeant retired Jesse Sterling, who's going to talk with us about the FM certification program. I can't think of a more timely issue in that I know all of us are looking for the appropriate credentialing here at this stage in everyone's careers to make sure that we can weather the storm through this time of change. So with that, let me open by thanking Chief Sterling for the presentation this morning, and thank all of you for joining in. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Over to you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Bick. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to come out and just talk a little bit about the FM certification program to your folks. We're going to, obviously this is a new program, but hopefully at the end of the day and the end of this training session, we will, your folks will walk away with a better understanding, and we'll go through a demonstration on the meat and potatoes are really what they need to concentrate on to get that FM certification. So with that, I'll go over my mandatory agenda slides, and we'll go a little bit on FM certification background because we don't know the knowledge base of everybody. Some folks know a lot about the program, some folks don't know very much. So we'll briefly go over that. We'll talk about how the Air Force is doing and what we've done so far, and then we'll really get into what folks probably are dialing in for, which is, okay, what does it mean to me and how do I get there? And then we'll go over some lessons learned. We've been doing this for just about a year to get you through the easiest way through the certification process, and then I'll show you some tools, and we'll actually get out on the learning management system itself, and I'll show you how to do the 3-step process. So with that, the background of the program, for those of you who don't know, back in 2012, Congress approved the authority to designate and initiate an FM certification program. So what that means to most folks is if you were in the 500 occupational series, that family, or you perform financial management functions like some of our 343s, our 1515s, specifically for this audience, our resource advisors, you may be in the program. If you're a 500 series, occupational series, you certainly are in the program. That also includes our military. If you have a 6.5 or a 6F AFSC, you are also included in the program. Now, the 2 sub-bullets on this are fairly important, and as I get into this, I'll explain why. There are 3 certification levels, but those are tied to competency levels. So those competency levels get a little confusing when we're talking about competency levels versus certification levels, but we'll get through those and hopefully that'll become clearer. So about a year ago, or actually longer than that now, the FM Senior Working Group came up with 23 competencies that apply to financial managers. That does not mean that everybody needs to have all 23 competencies, but what it means is if you're performing financial management, there's a very good chance that some of these 23 competencies touch what you do. So they thought you ought to be certified in those and demonstrate a certain level of competency in those competencies. So they also added some leadership competencies that are standard across the board for DoD folks. The main driver behind this was to establish a mechanism to support financial improvement and audit readiness and increase our decision support skills. For those of you that are CDFMs, you'll be happy to know this is course-based rather than test-based. So that means you simply take the courses. Once you complete those courses, you have your certification. There is no final test like you would see in a CDFM. So I talked a little bit about this. Who does it affect? If you are a DoD civilian or military member in the DoD workforce, it applies to you. So again, that's our 500 series, occupational series, our military folks with FMAFSCs, and those folks who perform financial management duties but may not necessarily be in the 500 occupational series family. So the tipping point for the Air Force is about 50%. So what I mean by that is if during the duty day you're performing 50% or more of your duties are financial management related, you should probably be in the program. There is no grandfathering. We all have to do it. And all positions are coded on the certification levels. I'll get into those, either 1, 2, or 3. So over the last year, you can see the FM community has about 10,000 folks in it. We've launched and implemented and established almost all of the accounts in the Air Force. We are very, very close. Our target was July to have all 10,000 in. We are wrapping those up now, and hopefully by July we will have everybody LMS account. July is an important date because July of 2016 is when we all have to have our certifications. So we wanted to give you 2 years to work on your certification. So in order to do that, we had to have LMS accounts established for everybody by July of 2014. That's why there was such an aggressive push to get LMS accounts created before July of this year. So for those of you out there, you're probably wondering, what does that mean to me? Because I have my full screen on, I can barely see the question. I saw something that flashed up that said, I have a 343 that said he's performing something, and then it went back down. So if you're on the line, just simply ask the question, and I will answer it for you.
Jesse, I can read that question for you if you would like.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a 343 performing 50% of my duties in FM. However, I was told there were about 55 people that rejected during initial load. I was one of those rejected. When will I have access to LMS?
So this is how the process works, and I wish I could tell you we only had 55 people rejected in the initial load. It was more than that. So what happens is you go back in, you're identified that we missed you, or you're a 343 that wasn't identified as having to be in the program, and we capture that. We have some real good folks down at AFPC that work with OSD to get those accounts established. How that works is it takes some time. So just as I said, we're trying to get the 10,000 Air Force FMers in. The Army is trying to get their 30,000 FMers in. The Marines, well, the Navy are trying to get their folks in. So you go into the queue in a batch. So that's been taking 8 to 10 weeks to get that established once we send the file up, just because they're loading so many accounts right now. So if it's gone beyond 10 weeks, shoot me an email or give me a call so I can do some follow-up to make sure that we didn't drop the ball someplace. I saw some other questions out there. I just couldn't read them.
It says, will Army National Guard civilians be loaded in LMS by July 2014 to start training as well?
Okay, here's the situation with the Guard, depending on what you are. If you're a full-time civilian in the Guard, yes. Right now, OSD is not looking to load any of the Guard or the Reserve military till 2015, because quite frankly, they have to figure out from a policy perspective how they're going to handle those folks. It would be very, very difficult to levy the 2-year time requirement on some of our Guard and Reserve folks based on, their time and their weekends and their drill to get that in. So they're coming up with a policy to address the military, but the full-time civilians in the Guard will be launched we're working with the Guard right now to get you folks launched, hopefully this week or the beginning of next week. Okay, so if there's no further questions on that, for most of you, you're just wondering, okay, you've given me this tasker, how do I get there? And that's really a 6-step process. So some of these things are really important. So this is how, when we mapped your certification levels, and I'll get into those in the next slide, it's really important that we make sure that those certification levels are correct. So what we did was we took your Manning documents and we loaded whatever your Manning document said based on your certification level. And we all know how good Manning documents are, right? So the reason that's important, so let's say if you were a level 3 and we have you down because the Manning document has you in a position that should be level 2. Inside the LMS, when your account is established, you can't see the requirements for level 1 or level 3. Only what we loaded, in this case, would be level 2. So this is kind of where those proficiency levels get in. So for a level 1 person, their proficiency level, the level of knowledge, is at a lower level of proficiency. So that's a level 1 proficiency level. There's 3 proficiency levels we use. So you can kind of equate level 1 certification and level 1 proficiency levels as your folks that are beginning in their career, and that type of competency they're looking at. If you went to college, your 100 or 200 level courses, those types of courses and that kind of education experience is what they're looking for level 1 proficiency. For level 2 certification, you need level 3 proficiency level. I would equate that to your 300 level courses in college. And for level 3, you would need a proficiency level 5, which is the expert level, and that can be equated to graduate work in college or your 400 series courses in your undergrad work. So why that's important is if we have you down as a level 2, because that's all you can see inside the LMS, and you're working for 6 months on the level 2, which has a proficiency level of a 300 level junior in college courses, and then we figure out that you are actually a level 3, we've just wasted 6 months of your life because you were supposed to be working on a graduate level education, not a junior in college level education. That's why those things are important. So once you get your LMS account, please make sure that your certification level is correct, and we'll go through those requirements in this briefing also. Then you're going to identify your learning history, the past things that you've done. You're going to capture that learning history in a history worksheet that I'm going to show you. The Air Force has one that's much better than DoD, quite frankly, and that's not me bragging. We'll walk through that. You'll need to update your history in the LMS, and then if you have any gaps between what you've already done and the certification requirements, you go online, you take some CBTs, and you fill those gaps until you reach your certification. Zelma, we get some more questions out there.
Sure. I was kind of told to hold questions to the end, if that's okay, Jesse.
Sure. Okay. So the FM certification levels that I was talking about. Level 1 is, again, our folks that are kind of beginning their journey in FM. So you're looking at your lieutenants, your staff sergeants and belows, and your GS1 through GS9. That's the target group for FM level certification level 1. Level 2, our captains and majors, our tech sergeants and master sergeants, and our GS10s through 13s. And level 3, which is our senior level, the highest level is lieutenant colonels and above, seniors and chiefs, and GS14s and above. There's only a couple caveats. Squadron commanders that are majors, that they will be required to be level 3. The reason that we did that is oftentimes that major has a senior or a chief as their superintendent, and it looks a little weird when the ranking FM on the base has a lower certification level than his enlisted person. And comptroller positions in the reserve command will be coded, civilian GS13 comptroller positions will be coded level 3 also. So here are the requirements for level 1. If you're a level 1, you'll see that it's a total of 46 hours, and you'll need to go out and take the DoD FM 101 course, which is online. You will notice that there's 40 continuous CET hours, is what we call them. Once you receive your certification, you'll be required to maintain that with 40 hours of CETs every 2 years. And you're required to have at least 2 years of DoD FM experience. And you'll see in there's also a leadership competencies. 6 of those hours are in leading yourself. So for our folks who have been to BIFMOC or the apprentice course, if you were previously enlisted or you are enlisted, you have essentially knocked out the entire requirements for level 1. For our level 2 folks, you'll see that the hours get a little higher. You go from 46 to 71, and then you've got some decisions to make. So you've got to pick a primary and alternate track. And what that means is for our civilians that are in the 500 series, your primary track should be what you do for a living. So if you're a 510, you should be an accountant. If you're 560, you should select a budget track. If you're a 501, you have some leeway, so you just kind of, what do you do for a living? That is the competency that should be your primary track. Because these folks are beginning to grow in responsibility, we also want some depth and breadth also, so you need to pick an alternate track. That can be anything that you're interested in, so you should talk to your supervisor and say, hey, as far as my career progression, what's the best move for me to get some exposure? And if I'm a budget person, and that's my primary track, maybe accounting is a good alternate track for me. Or maybe it's finance. So discuss that with your supervisor as you're doing your feedback. What's the best move for me on my alternate track? What's important about those alternate tracks is I talked about those proficiency levels. So for FM certification level 2, you need proficiency level 3, which is, again, that 300 series in college, that type of knowledge. You do not need that level in your alternate track. They just want you to have some exposure. That's a level 1 proficiency level. So you just kind of an introduction and some exposure to that alternate track competency. You'll notice that the CET hours went up from 40 to 60, and the years of experience went from, you still need 2 years of DoD FM experience, but you need a total of 4 years of FM experience. So what that means is it doesn't have to be DoD FM, but say that you were working corporate before you got hired into DoD, and you were working at Chase or a bank or something like that. That experience counts, but you need a total of 4 years. 2 of those have to be DoD FM experience. And then we'll go on to our highest level, level 3. You'll notice that the hours went up again. Your primary track has already been decided for you. You don't have to pick that. You do need to pick an alternate track. And again, that should be something that you're looking for some exposure to. Again, that proficiency level is also lower. Again, the proficiency level 5 is expert in level 3. For your alternate track for our level 3 folks, it's only proficiency level 3, which is, again, that 300 level course. You'll notice some other things have changed in this. You need 8 years of FM experience. Again, only 2 of those need to be DoD FM experience, and you need at least 1 3-month developmental assignment. What that means is it just can't be with the job that you're currently working on. What they're trying to avoid is having a GS-14 that has worked the same program at the same location for 20 years. So if you worked at base level, then you move to MAJCOM, that counts as your developmental assignment. If you work from one program to another, that counts as a developmental assignment. If you move from one office to another office, that counts as a developmental assignment. And you'll see that the CET hours moved up to 80 every 2 years. So for any of our folks that have a DIWEA certification requirement and an FM requirement, depending on your situation, if your position on your manning document says that your FM certification level and your DIWEA certification level are the same, you have a reduced requirement for FM certification. You only need to take about 6 courses. If your certification levels are different, i.e. your FM certification level is 2, but your DIWEA certification level is 3, you'll be required to take the entire FM certification requirements. Another caveat on this, we really suggest if you have both the FM certification level and the DIWEA certification level and they're the same, that you knock out the DIWEA first. If you don't have to, but if you do FM certification level first, you have to take all of the courses for both. So just to save yourself some time, if you fall into that scenario, I would highly suggest you take the DIWEA first and then just take the reduced requirement for FM certification afterwards. So I talked about identifying your past learning. What we've learned, some of the things that we've learned as we've gone through this process is most of the folks have, or for our level 2s, about 90%, if you've gone through and done the things that a typical FMer does as far as education and training, you're about 90% complete with your certification right now. It's just a matter of finding all of those transcripts. So these are just some helpful websites to find those things. Now, I will tell you that I don't know where any of my certificates are. So if I took a course that's not on my DD Form 214, it's not on my training record, but I know, I'll use myself as an example. I have no idea where my tech school graduation certificate is. That was 25 years ago. But Mr. Bick is my supervisor, and he knows I was a retired enlisted financial manager. He knows I could not have been a retired enlisted financial manager had I not gone to that course. He can do a memo for record that says, I know he went to this course, and I'll get credit for it. And also, don't forget your college transcripts. We'll go into that a little bit because you do get credit for your college work also. The next step, step 4, and I'll be walking you through this, is capturing your learning history. You'll see the website there on the slides, and Zama will get these slides to all of you folks. But it gives you the chance to look for courses that you've already completed, and it allows you to know if you've met the competency requirements. So one of the things when I start doing the demonstration, the first thing we'll do is go through this worksheet, and we'll walk through it so that you can see how it works. Again, the website is here, and I highly suggest that you use this one, not the OSD one, because ours is much easier and quicker to use. And we'll go into that a little bit. So now that you've captured your learning, your previous learning, it is time to get into the LMS. We're also going to be doing that today. That is a 3-step process. I will just beat that into you as we're going through this. You're going to see the opportunity to upload documentation. In every step, you're only required to upload documentation in one of those steps, step 2. So even though you see a prompt to upload documentation, only do it in step 2. It'll save yourself some time. So the very first step is just saying that you took the course. The easiest way for me to remember this is if I'm having a conversation with my supervisor, step 1 is me simply saying, I went to, we'll say, FMSOC. And that's it. That's step 1. I'm just doing that inside the LMS. Step 2 is my supervisor saying, prove to me that you went to FMSOC, which is me uploading the document, my training certificate saying I went there. And the final step is really me saying, now that you've seen my certificate, please approve my achievement, and the supervisor will. That's the 3-step process. You're simply doing that inside the LMS, and I will walk you through that also. And then, as I said before, once you've loaded all of your past history, learning history into the LMS, you'll see your gaps. And if you've met all the requirements, great. If you haven't, go out and take some online courses that meet those requirements and get yourself certified. So, as we've gone through this, we've got some lessons learned from OSD and their audits. Just so you know, OSD audits every certification that we approve. So where we find our biggest struggles is when folks are using their academic, their college coursework for credit on a competency. So you can use your college courses, but there's some parameters on that. So the course title has to be similar to the sample course title in the academic matrix inside the LMS. The course also has to meet the proficiency levels. If you're a level 2, you're a level 3, and the course content must meet the parameters for the competency. So our supervisors must ensure that that does happen. So if it doesn't, and I've got an example here on the next slide. So we're using this is the academic matrix. So for example, if I'm a level 2, and I want to claim credit for fundamentals and operations of accounting, which is a competency. The first thing that I would do is I would look through the sample course titles. If any of my college work has a course title that's similar to these, then I've met one of the parameters of claiming that. But because I'm a level 2 and that proficiency level is proficiency level 3, it has to be a 300 level course for me. So for me, let's say that my course was Advanced Managerial Accounting. It was a 300 level course, and that course met these parameters. This is what it taught, then I can claim that course. If you have a course that doesn't meet the sample course title, or doesn't come close to it, but you think it meets the parameters, you can send that to our office, but we'll also need the course description and the course syllabus so that we can send that to OSD and say we'd like this to be included so this person can get credit, and they'll give us a yes or no answer on that. We've also found that using the scorecard is very helpful. So if you're using your scorecard, that will tell you if you've done the 3-step process and you've loaded everything correctly so it can get through all the audits that it goes through. So we'll take a look at that using this. Once we get into the LMS, I'll show you, this is your home page. You will see this every time you log in. You simply go over to the Easy Links. Easy Links is a place that you're going to be using a lot inside the LMS. You'll be using these two, but for this one you want to use reports. This will prompt you to here, and you pull up the FM scorecard. I will tell you it takes about 4 minutes to run, and it'll tell you if you've met the requirements for a competency or if you have not met the requirements for a competency. So it's a good way to gauge where you're at in your FM certification journey. So, in summary for this, before we go on to the demonstration and answer some questions, this is our recipe for success. You identify your previous learning history. You locate your certificates because you'll have to upload those into PDF files. You upload your history into the LMS, and you fill in the gaps if you have any by taking online courses. And the takeaway for all of you is that many of you are a lot closer to FM certification than you think. Okay, so we're going to go into one of the training histories here. This is that worksheet that I was talking about. And these are really helpful because you can kind of play with it with your alternate and primary track. So let's say I'm a level 2 person and I'm a 510. So I'm going to say that accounting is my primary track, and I picked finance, but it could have been budget or military pay for my alternate track, but we'll pick budget. Why don't we do that? So I go into all of these down here are the competencies and the hours that I need in each one. So if I click on the little binoculars, let's go to this one. It tells me, well, there's FMSOC right there. You know what? I went to FMSOC, so I'm going to claim that, and we're going to see what happens. So this, because of that one course, is going to pre-populate all these competencies. Where you see the check marks means that course has met my competency in its entirety, once you see a green check mark. Now I hit FMSOC for decision support, the one that I was trying to close out, and it didn't give me all of my hours. I needed 8, it only gave me 5. So I would need to go into my learning history and see if I had taken any more of these courses. So maybe I took DDSC. Let's take a look at that. So those 2 courses, I have met those requirements. So as you're going through all of your previous education, go through these things, you'll see that I've met just about all of these just on those 2 courses. So if I took the Comptroller Contingency course, I took that before, that knocks that one out. And then leading teams and projects, if you've ever had any PME, let's say I went to ACSC, that meets that. These other 3 are online courses inside the LMS. You simply knock those out. We'll hit audit readiness, and you go right down the list. We won't do all of them. But once you've met all of, you've loaded all your previous history, create a PDF with this, just hit this, and take that and hold that up. That's going to be your checklist to get into the LMS. This is a much simpler way. But what you can do, what's nice about this, is I can say, well, it did knock out all of my things. Let's say, let me take one of these off. Okay. But maybe if I change finance, it doesn't change any of my things, but you can kind of play with it to see if it picks up the other competencies, the courses that I've taken in my alternate track, to see where you're getting the most value for your previous learning. So you can play with it because they're all mapped differently on different hours for competencies. It gives you an idea of where you're going to be short before you actually go into the LMS. And then inside the LMS, you're simply data processing. That's the easiest way to do that. So in the slide deck is the website where all of these for all 3 levels are located, and you simply pull that down, save it to your desktop, and press on with that and use that as your checklist. So with that, now that I have my checklist, we're going to go through the, oops, you probably don't need to see that. We're going to actually get into the LMS because I've done my checklist and I know where I need to load in my documents. So I go to FM Online, which is where the LMS is at. You can use this from home, but you will need a CAT card reader if you're using your home computer. So that gets you to the FM Online home site. The third link down is the LMS. Now, for those of you that have gone to college before and used Blackboard, Blackboard is an LMS. It's the same as the FM LMS, other than it's similar, I'll put it that way. I personally believe Blackboard's a little bit better, but if you click onto this website, this is looking for my stuff. Mine is going to look a little different than most of yours just because I have some other responsibilities I need to take. Disregard all of these. I was just playing with these. I'm not overdue. So I am going to go in as a level 2 user. There's a gal who works in our office that allows me to use her account. So I'm going to go in and pretend that I'm her, and we're going to do the 3-step process. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so I am in the system as Ina Downey, who's a colleague of mine. So in her 3-step process, we're just going to load one thing, but I'll go through some of this for you. So in the process, there's a couple things that I can tell you about that are important. So here, because I don't remember my user ID very much, If you click on this, I'm not going to because then you'll see your user ID. It will tell you all your important data, including your user ID. You will need that user ID and your PIN in step 3. So inside the EasyLinks FM certification is a real big important thing to use. So we're going to look and see what she does. She's a level 2, we know that. So once you go into that, it gives you all of your requirements for level 2. So this is what she's set up for. So she's got her decision support things here. And we will go in and we will pick something else in decision support. She's already got that signed off. So we know that she needs, every one of these competencies needs to be filled. So if we're looking at accounting analysis, every course in DoD that we currently know of, I'm sure there's some other ones, are located here if you click this. So she's going to go down and take a look at some of these things. All of these are courses. You'll see the academic hours. That's what you would use to claim one of your college courses. But this is Air Force courses, this is Army courses, anything that applies to that competency. This icon lets you know that it's an instructor-led item. You're looking for most of us, if it was a gap, you'd be looking for a little a computer screen to let you know that it's based, and you simply launch the course from there. So we're going to say she took the advanced finance course. We're just going to make that up. So she knows that she took the advanced finance course and she needs to take that. So step one, again, is me just simply telling my supervisor that I took that course. So what she's going to do, step one, is record that learning. And we said that was advanced, what did we say that was, finance course? I think that's what we said that was. Let's see. Okay. So these are all the courses that are in the system that start with advanced finance. So we're going to take this. These here tell you which competency it is. So we're going to go financial management and analysis on this maybe. She's going to select that, and she's going to say, that's the course that I took. In here you see a lot of different areas in here, but the only thing that's really important is this one, which is complete for credit. You hit next, and you simply follow the prompts. So, and next, there's no comments on that. You hit finish, and you get up here, this is kind of orange. It says this learning event has been successfully recorded. So once we go into here, and we look at FM certification, she's got, okay, yeah. You'll notice that she had 10 hours. That course that I just loaded had 5. So she's completed 5 of the 10. That's why she doesn't have a green check mark there. So she'll need to take another course. So she's done step 1, which says I've taken the course, but now she needs to prove it. So she goes back out to record. Well, actually, let me take that back. Well, once she goes into record, let's say that she closed that one out. Let me go back. So we're going to say, just for argument's sake, that she met all 10 hours. So in this scenario, instead of 5, it says 10, and she got her green check mark, which means she's met that requirement. That's the only time you move on to step 2, which is now I have to prove to you through documentation that I've done all 10 hours. So she's going to go into this. You'll see the achievement documentation because she's taking credit for that. This is the way I do it, only because I can't remember these long titles. She's going to go into record learning just like she did for the course, and she's going to paste that. So you'll see that that comes up, accounting analysis or financial management analysis. She's going to hit select. Again, the only thing she needs to do is for credit. She doesn't need any comments, and she's going to finish. So this is the only time that you need to attach something. So in this, she took 2 courses to get 10 hours of financial management analysis. So now she needs to attach in one PDF all of the documents that equaled the 10 hours. So she took 2 courses. This PDF should have 2 courses on it, inside it. That's the only time that she needs to do that. So she's already gone through step 1 and step 2. So again, that's telling her supervisor, step 1, that she went to that course, showing the documentation, and her final step is asking for approval. So this uploaded saying that she did that correctly. That's why she got the green check mark. She's going to go in here, and this is step 3. copy that title again. We're going to go to Record Learning. You'll see that two things will come up. Only because it's the exact same thing. What step 2 is the documentation. Step 3 is asking for permission, so to speak. Step 3 is also the only step that you need your user ID and your PIN. So it's a good thing to remember and have those things out, because I'll tell you, when you get to this point and you finish and you get here and you don't remember what it is and you have to go up here to look it up, you have to start all over. So we're going to go. This tells me that I did it right because it's in orange, but it's also telling me that before I see that green check mark, somebody else has to sign it. So as soon as my supervisor signs that, you will see green check marks on that competency. So this is waiting for my supervisor. There's the green check marks. I did the documentation. This, had I loaded another course, would have been 10 hours of 10 hours, and she would have got a green check mark there. So that's the process for recording your 3-step process. And you simply, our suggestion is to work through each competency individually. Start with systems, then move down to decision support until you, with your previous learning, complete them all, kind of in a disciplined approach, if you will. So back here, I will tell you, and what I'll do is I'll print I'll start with a report. That scorecard that I was talking about, we'll go here, and again, it takes about 4 minutes to run this report. So while it's running, I will answer some questions while we're waiting in the queue.
Chief Roger Bick here. We've got about 30 questions accumulated for you, and Zama will read those in the amount of time we have left. Okay, and I don't know if you can see it in your chat box. If not, we'll read them to you. Just a reminder while we're getting ready to answer questions that this is being brought in closed captioning, so if you're on that website at the push of a button, you can get the complete transcript of what the Chief has been talking about. So, Chief, can you see those questions? If not, we'll read them to you one at a time.
I would prefer that only because this is an important note. If I get out of the screen that I'm in, we'll have to start running this scorecard all over again, and it takes a while to run.
Okay, Jesse, question 1 is, I started level 1 certification and almost completed all courses. In April, I switched to RA position and was changed to a level 2 in error, according to our FM person. He said he requested a change to return me to level 1. Will all of those courses I completed be back?
Yes. So if the position he moved into was not coded correctly, but your system should still read, I'm assuming that it's reading level 1 inside the LMS. If it is, those still count. The issue that the level 2 stuff obviously is on proficiency levels, so most of the level 1 stuff would not count towards level 2, but if she's taken her level 1 courses and they have switched back, it depends on her timing. If they did switch it to a level 2, and she didn't know it, but it depends on what her account says, or his, I should say, not just hers. But if you want to take a name for me, I will look their account up and see exactly what we're talking about. So it depends on if they changed it back and what her account reflects.
Question 2, is there any options other than CBTs?
As in, hey, I would like to go to an in-residence course. I'm assuming that's what folks are asking. there is no special provisions for getting folks to in-residence courses to meet FM certification. And that doesn't mean that you're going and still competing and going through the in-residence courses. You certainly can do that. But you'll see inside the LMS where it says schedule to attend a course. That's not going, because the systems don't talk to each other. That does not mean that you're signed up for, let's say, FEMSOC, just because you put it on your schedule inside the LMS to go to FEMSOC, particularly with our competitive courses. So any course counts. So you can do an if you're scheduled for an in-residence course, you might want to hold off on a CBT. If you go out onto FM Online or FM MyLearn, or use your worksheets, pull those down to see how many credits that in-residence course gives. You may want to hold off on your CBTs because you're going to knock them all out in an in-residence course.
Next, why are graduate level courses not applicable below cert level 3?
We have been fighting this battle with OSD for some time. As of right now, here the policy stands this way. In your alternate track, you can use higher level courses. In your primary track, you cannot. I think we may get some more support in our effort to change that with OSD once the Army and the other services get engaged. The Air Force is far in front of all the other certification or services as far as certification is concerned, so that they change that. The policy that they created, the intent behind it was, okay, a level 3 graduate level course competency is a strategic view. So because you have a course that is that enhances your strategic capability, does that help you in the requirements of a level 1, which is a tactical level view and expertise level? And that's where the disconnect is. Because you can view things strategically doesn't necessarily meet the tactical competencies that they're looking for. That's their position now, but we hope to change that.
Okay, what if you held a comptroller position before and currently budget officer? Can I get level 3?
If you've already had level 3, you have it. If you have not, you don't. It's assigned to the position that you're in. So the position that you're in right now is whatever that level is. So if you're a level 2 position right now, as we launch the program, then that's the position that you have. Now, if you were previously and you had got your certification, you're one of the Air Force has 82 folks with certifications right now. If you're one of those folks and you had a level 3 and it got approved, then you maintain that, but not if you do not currently have an FM certification level 3, you will be required to get whatever your position dictates.
When will those go live for guard level?
We're hoping, well, for the civilians, we will hopefully launch those civilians next week. But again, for the Guard and the Reserve military folks, they're holding off till 2015. That also, until they figure out some policy issues and how to approach that. That also applies to NAF employees, terms and temporary employees, and local nationals if you have any.
And this might be one of the last questions due to our timing.
Okay.
Quite a few questions, but does completing both BF MOC and FEMSOC qualify level 2 certification?
You will, if you've gone through BIFMOC, and remember BIFMOC is a level 1 course, though, because that's kind of like when you're just joining the group. But if you've gone through FEMSOC, you have knocked out a considerable amount of the level 2 requirements. So I know we only got a couple minutes, so let me go through the scorecard real quick. You can see on here she has not met any of her competency stats. This would say yes if she met those. So she hasn't met any of those. It tells the number of hours and how many she's got. This she hasn't met only because her supervisor hasn't approved it. As soon as her supervisor approved it, you would see a yes in this. But you'll see step 1 was, hey, I swear I took this course. Step 2 is here's the attachment that says I went to that, and if you're a supervisor, that's all you do is you open that up and look at it and go, this should be for her. I know this is DDSC. And if I'm acting as her supervisor, I go, oh, yep, so she went to DDSC. Then I go in and I approve this achievement, and that would be the 3rd step. And this would pop to a yes, and you simply go through all of that. But as the user or as the supervisor, use the score card, and it'll get you right through all of the competencies and where your folks stand. Okay.
Okay. Well, Chief Roger Bick here again. Thank you so much for your presentation this morning. For those for those 25 or so whose questions we didn't get to, we'll answer those and get them out to you. In addition, you may wish to tune in again at 1500 Eastern time when the Chief is going to present this one more time. So if your question didn't make the answered list, we might be able to get to it in the next session. So I hope the 525 people that joined us this morning got something out of the Chief's presentation. And for those, again, wanting to tune back in and or get the complete transcript, that's available online. So thanks for joining, and Chief, we'll see you again this afternoon.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Zelma, if you just want to send me those questions, I'll do the follow-up on those.
Will do, sir.
Okay,
We're out.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.